right, we've got our bond oversight board report.
Mark, did you want to make any introduction or you just want me to go ahead?
Dion and Lauren, we're really appreciative of their commitment to the Bond Oversight Committee. And, you know, I think you guys are quite versed, and I'll turn it over to you.
All right, great. Thank you.
Dion, this is Andrew. I'm going to interject quickly because, of course, I owe my board position to you. You were my predecessor, and when you vacated for legitimate business reasons, I filled that space, and that's been many years ago. So great to have you back in the fold and contributing.
Well, thank you very much. It's good to be back to Baker, and you know, I really appreciate your time this evening and the chance that Lauren and I can present some of the work of the Bond Oversight Committee. I have to say, deja vu, hearing about the state not letting loose with their funds. We had that 10, 12 years ago. Same problems, different day, kind of interesting. And I know you have a packed full agenda, having been on the board before. So we're just excited to be able to present the first annual Bond Oversight Committee report to you. We formed in July. Well, let me get to that. You may know, let's go to our PowerPoint. Is that up? Can I get that up, Jason? I'm already on the introduction page. Sorry, we'll let you flip through there. And if you could go to the introduction page, I think it's two down, or yeah, there's the members of the committee, which I know many of you know, and I'm impressed with the quality of people that we have and how well we've been working together. Very excited by that. You know, and I'm also impressed with our management team here at the Baker 5J. You know, the management team, but also the staff. I've been really impressed as I've had been able to work back in the district a little bit on this committee, and seeing that you're all pulling in the same direction. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of exciting things going on, and wherever I've had interactions with staff and management, people have a great attitude. And that speaks to the leadership of the board and also the superintendent. I want to give a special shout out to Jason and Lindsay, who keep this communication going for us. I think those are those unsung heroes in the committee. I've had a chance to also meet on the side some of your other management staff, Angie Lattin and Phil Anderson at North Baker and South Baker, and very impressed with your management staff. We're here tonight to review the charge that you've given us and report to you on the committee. So let's go to page 2 there, the next slide. This is our overview, and I can report to you that your superintendent has formed the BOC, the Bond Oversight Committee, as instructed by you of the 5J board. And I believe that the BOC committee will meet the main purpose that's talked about in this overview, and that is to ensure accountability, transparency, and also to build trust in the community and to help you build trust. Can we go to the next slide? I'm pleased to report too that the superintendent, under your direction again, has met the composition of the committee as you outlined here. The BOC is meeting the goal that you've asked to communicate through the website of how the project is going. And I know we're early on in the project, and I believe our first public meeting next Tuesday, the 22nd, we'll have a chance for the BOC committee and others to start talking this up in the community. And also as this moves into summer and the public can see some of the construction going on, there's going to be a lot of chatter, and we believe the BOC can help get the word out, communicate well, and also help build that excitement and again, that transparency and trust. If we could go to the next slide, continuing on with the composition of the committee. I can report that all the committee members are residents of this district and they're registered to vote and meet all the membership requirements that you as the board has directed in setting up the BOC. Let's go to the charge, the next slide of 3. As charged by the board, the committee has met the requirement of meeting quarterly. We first met in July to organize, and then we resumed our meetings, and we've decided to do every other month instead of quarterly. And so last week we met on February 8th, and our next meeting is planned in April. We've had good attendance from all committee members. And at those meetings, we review, as stated in the charge here in the bullet points, to review, to understand who all the players are, the participants, the general contractors, architects. We review the financial statements. I've also, and I know some other committee members have been into the facilities to inspect the schools, and that will continue as the constructions. If I can go to the next slide, thank you. You've asked us in our charge to make recommendations where we might see to the superintendent, and the committee has made a few as we go on. Very little. Example would be we've had some savings that Mark will talk about later this evening, and maybe some of the bids coming in a little bit under. One of the suggestions from committee member was possibly the management team start talking about maybe there's some little or smaller project that the board and the management may want to work towards with any fund savings. It's still early on, I understand that. And so as costs rise and those other things, talking with committee members, very much excited to keep the public informed. And as time go by, as I said, I believe as the projects begin, we'll be able to assist the board with that. The next slide is about our reporting. This is our first annual report. As stated, the district website has been kept up to date by the great work of Lindsay. And so that is one way we're communicating. As stated earlier, I'm personally impressed with all my interactions, and I believe there's a good feel good, but also pulling in the same direction. And I know when I left the board, I think the board had a time where we lost some trust and going in that same direction. And it's nice to see how that has come back. And I know you've done a lot of hard work to make that happen. And again, I think that comes from your leadership as a board and also with our superintendent. Going to the next slide, before I end my portion and turn the time over to Lauren. The duration, most of the filling of the committee, as I've talked with them individually, is we're here to see this through to the end. It is just a 2-year assignment, possibly, or until the bond proceeds are 95%. But we really feel we want to see this through. If life changes for any of us and we need to be removed from the oversight committee, we will ensure that we go through that appointment and application process as stated. So unless there's any questions for me, I'm going to turn the time over to Lauren Joseph, another committee member.
All right, thank you very much, Dion. Any questions for Dion? Okay, moving on. So we have, as Dion explained, met every other month on the dates listed there. We did meet in person once. That was a lot of fun. And then we get to sit here in front of our cameras again, which is a different kind of fun. We do have, obviously, a lot of members that are active in the community. So we are not at 100% attendance all the time. But of course, Mark and Cassie and Amber have been at all of our meetings and keeping us on track. Lindsay and Jason as well, of course. Special shout out to Lindsay. Thank you so much. And let's move to the next slide. Thank you. All right, so here's our timeline. We did our update on our bond sale, which went very well. In October, we looked at what we wanted from a project manager. We've gone through a lot of revisions. Cassie's been fantastic in identifying our needs for early procurement due to supply chain issues, rising costs, costs, and so forth. And thankfully, quick action has kept us on track for all of those early procurements, and we don't have any delays as of yet. Okay, next slide, please. So we did our request for proposals and made our recommendations to the district. Wenaha, was selected. I think that they are doing a fantastic job. We've selected Amber, I can't remember her last name, and her company as our architect. I've been impressed so far with what they've worked with. So we also review the bid results and go over those with the CMGC. And we are invited to attend the formal bid openings. I have not been to one of those yet. I'm excited for that. Okay. Most importantly, the BOC acts as our community ambassadors. We help distribute all of this information to the public, make sure that everything is transparent, and help build trust. And we use our bakersdbond.org website. You'll hear us advertising that on the radio. If anyone listens to the radio, you'll get to hear my lovely voice there. And we've got our agendas, our minutes, the schedule, the budget, the bid opportunities. We're also using this as marketing to local contractors to make sure that they are aware of all of these opportunities, and so that we can solicit as many bids as possible. I think it's very important that we do that. All right, here is our schedule. So as you can see, we've got early procurement starting in January. We're going into our permitting. Our design is happening, and then we will get to construction soon. It looks, June is when we're slated to begin construction on a lot of these projects there at the middle school, Brooklyn. And then we'll get into the middle school cafeteria multi-purpose building, hopefully in August. And so far, I don't believe there are any delays to note that would impact this schedule. Okay. And here is our master budget. It's a little smaller than my eyes can see. I apologize. I do need to get my glasses updated. But you can see where we have our original budget and our revised budget, and there are very few, if any, so far, adjustments to those numbers. So, very impressed with Wenaha again in accurately estimating a lot of this and ensuring that we are receiving bids from qualified contractors and subs. Okay, here is a list of our early procurement package. Number one, we're working on the middle school gym roof for the seismic project, which we're tying into our bond project as much as possible to facilitate the scheduling and, of course, the costs. Looks like we've got, yes, our mechanical electrical for the middle school and our mechanical electrical for Brooklyn. Both of those came in under our estimates, which is some potential savings, which is good because I believe there are some extra costs that we were just learning about. Okay, so here we go. Our design estimate, $275. We went with the ARFCO bid, I believe, or that was the recommendation of $248, $264. Again, our design estimate, $365, $750 for the middle school HVAC, and bid came in $346, $714. So on schedule and under budget. How often do you hear that? Next slide, please. Thank you. So here's a breakdown of where we're at for those. All right, our cat tax goes in on there. Can't forget about that. So forth and so on. Next slide, please. And here's our design construction updates. Let's see. What I have been impressed, and let's skip to the cafeteria multi-purpose building here. Oh, back one slide. Thank you. Is the redesign that occurred after we had our district stakeholders in there was just a wonderful addition. The kitchen functionality, as noted here, the traffic flow, layouts, how things intertwine, all of that was worked over by the boots on the ground people there and really made a difference in how that's going to work. I think we're going to see, less change orders and better functionality in the future because of that. Okay, and next slide, thank you. So here's our challenges and opportunities slide. We're taking advantage of early procurement where possible. We did have to rebid the electrical on the early procurement package number 1. We didn't have any electricians bid on it, so thankfully we were able to get that back out, market it, and receive some bidders. We're having our contractor outreach event on Friday, March 4th. Everyone highlight that. Make sure you let all your contractor friends know that that's happening. And that will be at the, where will that be, just for everyone to know? Lindsay or Mark, who knows?
Middle school gymnasium, Lauren.
Middle school gymnasium, thank you. All right, so we are seeing some monies saved from some bids coming in under estimates, and we're looking to potentially think of ways to stretch those dollars and get some better projects done. I know the entrance in the middle school was discussed. There's a few other ideas, but as people think of those, certainly start bringing them up as we see some savings. There has been a few changes that I think have eaten into those savings a bit, but we'll discuss that with someone that has a little more information on it than I do. That was just thrown out to me yesterday. Okay, so I'll let Mark speak a little bit more about the district calendar modifications. This needs to happen in order to ensure that we are able to begin our construction on time and finish and give everyone time to clean up and get back in the building before next year. So 2 fewer instructional days at Brooklyn, and then next year in the fall, 2 fewer instructional days at the Belk, Haynes, and South Baker. Mark, do you want to add anything to that?
Oh, I think you did a great job. I think the board's seen this several times, but
Okay.
The idea is to be able to provide our staff enough time to be able to get the job done well. And so when we turn over the building, the contractors can move in quickly and get after it. So we can talk a little bit further about the calendars, and I think we got it on, number 4 tonight. 4.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Next slide, please. All right, so here we go. The community open house to look at the new cafeteria multi-purpose building design, Tuesday, February 22nd at the Baker Middle School gym. That's going to be very fun. This is the exciting big part of the bond project that will really be the face that we'll put onto the community. I think it's going to be a big improvement on Broadway. Very excited about it. We've got our contractor outreach event Friday, March 4th at 11 at the BMS gym. Very important to make sure we keep all of our local contractors involved and keep as much of these dollars locally spent as possible. And then we've got our bid openings for the hard bid projects. We'll be bid opening April 7th, hopefully. And then to be determined for the cafeteria multi-purpose building at the middle school, late July, early August, it looks like. And then our groundbreaking for the bond seismic project, hopefully week of June 6th or June 13th. And our next meeting, as Dion noted earlier, April 12th. Okay. Now, let's open this up to questions.
Lauren, a couple things I wanted to make sure was that we're clear about is the cafeteria kitchen. If you look on the schedule, it's the spring of 2023 that we're targeting to be able to open that up. So much of that construction will occur over fall, winter, and early spring, but through March of next year. So 2022, you know, the 22-23 school year, the middle school will be a work site. And so we'll have to make sure that we take steps to keep everything safe and productive and moving forward, but it'll be an active work site. And one of the things that'll be really cool about that is we'll be able to bring students from the middle school to be able to visit with contractors and just experience what that's all about. And then students from the high school, we're certainly hoping to be able to have Amber and her team visit with them here this spring and kind of show them all the things that go into the planning process and design of a facility. And then hopefully next year, high school students can go on site and really get some insight as to the actual construction, kind of follow that along. So we want to utilize this as a learning opportunity for our students as we go through this this big construction piece. So that was one thing I wanted to make sure and bring out. And then Cassie, where are you at, Cassie? There you are. Cassie, we do have one bit of news that I kind of wish wasn't this way, which is around the kitchen cafeteria, and it is coming in above, our projections are above right now as to what we had initially had anticipated. Cassie, I'll let you dive into that a little bit deeper.
Sure, thanks, Mark. So we do progress estimates on projects for a reason, right? We, at the end of each design milestone, we do an estimate so we know kind of where we're standing on it and what to expect. So on the middle school cafeteria building, we just finished up the schematic design phase. Our target budget for that was about 2.2 million, and our initial estimates are coming in around 2.9 million. There's a few things that are going on there. So the first one is that we've had an increase in the square footage on the building by about 1,000 square feet. But we also think that we've got the building in a really good design and a really good size to fit the district's needs as well. So that's part one. So part two is just, I would say, general escalation across the industry. We had originally prepared the cafeteria estimates back in 2019, and we had projected for escalation as part of that. We knew we weren't going to do construction on that till 22, but the past couple of years have been, I think, more challenging than anybody ever could have expected for a bunch of reasons. And that's also hitting our pocketbook there as well. And then trying to think of our last one, our other contribution to the project estimate. Sorry, I'm a little rusty. I just got out of the car. From
Cassie,
about an hour
was
ago.
it the parking lot?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Lindsay. I was hoping somebody would jump in there and save me. Yeah, the parking lot, we had, when we had done the original cost estimate, we were mostly focused on the building itself. But there is a need to solve some parking issues at the middle school and also to serve that building. So that's some scope growth that wasn't taken into account in the original estimate. So the design team has been talking with Winnahaw and the cost estimator. We think we've identified a few different items where we can pursue some reductions related to that and help bring it back in alignment. But overall, we think that we have a really good overall design on that building, and the district's really happy with the design that's been presented so far, which Amber's also going to give us a little taste of here in a moment.
And I would just, you had mentioned 1,000 square feet addition, but I think it's really 500 square feet, isn't it?
No, we were originally at 5,000 square feet for the building, and right now we're at about 6,000 square feet.
Okay, well, then there was some additional sneak in square footage somewhere along the line. And that often happens as you go through the process with stakeholders. And that really is a result of stakeholders looking at it and really wanting to get the cafeteria kitchen into a very good workable space. And Lauren, I don't want to speak for you, but it felt, I think that many of us feel like we'd probably be better off to end up with something that we really want. Make sure that we manage the cost and try to do the best we can to keep those costs trimmed. But
words out of my mouth, Mark.
Yeah, Yeah, instead of trying to shave the cost and then end up with something that's, well, shoot, why did we do that?
Yeah.
Which I've seen that happen. So
Chris, I have a question.
You bet.
Cassie or committee members, Mark, are there, this whole process is the culmination of about 5 years of facilities, 7 years of facilities discussion review. We've learned a lot. Is there anything that, a little bit like blind spots, as we're digging into all these projects and moving forward, are there things that we just simply missed, or things that are maybe a higher priority now for the future? Maybe not a part of these projects, but all of a sudden, as we identify the master plan moving forward, have we learned anything new?
Andrew, I'll take a stab at that. One of the things that we're going to be doing is, as we get through this summer, and then get into September and October, we'll have a much better idea about how our costing is looking, because we'll have a lot under our belt, and then we'll be a lot closer to the procurement for the other components. So we'll have a lot better idea what that is. And so the committee knows that if we have some additional funds that we might be able to put towards other kinds of addendums or that we could add to the projects into the final year. Now, as always, even when you do a remodel in your home, there's always things you would like to get to, but we need to stay within budget. And so we've got to make sure that we're doing that first and foremost. But if we do end up with some additional dollars that weren't spent on those, then what we'll do is get a list, kind of vet those with our staff at least the administrative level, and then visit with Winnahaw and those, and then bring a list to the Bond Oversight Committee, which Travis will also be in on some of these discussions for sure, as well as the board at the end of the day. But there are some items that we'd love to be able to get to if we could. One example might be, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we could get all the windows done at Baker Middle School and put them in that historical view and have that piece done? Well, that would be something that, you know, would end up on the list, and the Bond Oversight Committee can weigh out various positives compared to other ideas. But so I think there definitely are some things coming up, Andrew, but I also would suggest that when we get close to year 3 in this process, that we really need to take another assessment and see exactly where we are at. This bond and the matching funds and the state funds and the ESSER 3 funds and the district funds are going to go about $14.5 million of investment over the next couple of years. But you know, this district has got a lot of buildings and a lot of places where we'd really like to see some improvements as we move on. So this process isn't done. We need to keep looking at ways that we can really take care of our facilities, for our students, for our staff, and the community. It's got to be a high priority that we do a good job on managing these facilities moving forward.
Mark, if I can dovetail onto that and add something, I'd like to. I think just sitting in too on a lot of these meetings and listening, Andrew, I think one of the things that I've found that always seems to tweak things or stimulate new ideas is just looking at like logistics and flow and how the administrators will actually be using the buildings, how to, you know, work around construction while still trying to get, you know, kids the learning that they need. You know, the safety and security and looking at like flow and entrance and egress, a lot of that's going to be changing in these buildings because all of the doors are going to get changed over. It's going to be a different system. So I think a lot of the, you know, a lot of the changes or tweaks or things that we'd like to see done that maybe we might not have the budget for coming up are really just things that boil down to, oh, yeah, what about that door and how it opens right now? What is it going to look like when it's, you know, a new one? And trying to figure out the best way to, you know, just really streamline everything seems like overall, you know, like change in the size of the building. it seemed more like, oh, if we tweak it like this and we add this little hallway, it's going to be better off down the road. So I wouldn't say there's anything major, but there's definitely like the logistical flow of personnel through the systems over the next 2-3 years, and then 20-30 years down the road. I think that's probably kind of the learning curve that we're trying to catch up on.
Well, and I would argue it's part of the process, because as we bring stakeholders together with, you know, a Winnehaw project leader and LKV, I just think it's part of the process that we really delve into those. The other major thing that I want the board to be aware of, we have applied. WRK is the company that has worked with us on this. We applied for South Baker to receive a seismic upgrade there. And I think that's in about 2.5 million. And we should know, I'm hoping by mid-May, we know if we have received that grant or not. And so, you know, just to remind everybody, this summer, we're going to be doing the gymnasium at Baker Middle School, major project, because that's unreinforced masonry, so quite challenging work. And then we're going to be able to finish out the Brooklyn North Wing, which currently houses the first grade teams. And so just keep in mind at Brooklyn, a lot of work going on everywhere, but that North Wing is going to be a lot of work there because of the seismic upgrade we're going to be able to do there through grants from the state.
We have any more questions or comments for those guys?
I guess, hey, Dion, again, I had one more comment.
Yeah.
It's
Go
just, I had failed in my presentation, just to thank our consultants, Cassie and Amber and their group. They have been open to all kinds of questions. They allowed us to be involved as we looked at some of the building layout and little suggestions that way, but very impressed again with their professionalism. So just end on that. Thank you.
No, that's
Chris,
good. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say thank you. We've got a pretty expansive board that we've got in there, plus the staff and our consultants that are working with us on this. And this is a huge project, and we've asked a lot of time commitment and a lot of energy to be in there. And I appreciate that we live in a community where people are willing to step up and give of their time and really work together for what we're trying to accomplish for our kids in this community. And I just can't say enough about how appreciative I am of that time that people are investing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is a huge lift, and it just really appreciate everybody's work. Dion, Lauren, thank you so much for putting all this together. Thank you. Very informative.